Hello everyone, glad you can join me here again today. As always, we have some exciting stuff to talk about, and the drink of choice for today is going to be the Mighty Mango from Naked, because who doesn't love to be naked? Anyway, enough of that. Let's have a sip first, huh? Love that 1 1/4 of a mango, as well as all the other stuff that's in there. But as you can see, we have a few topics that we want to talk about. Actually, 2 topics and 1 question. And I know what you're thinking and what you're going to ask. What about Ben Shapiro? Are you going to be covering Ben Shapiro? And I am. And we'll be doing that probably the next episode. But I wanted to give everyone time to watch the video and digest. And I'm not necessarily in a rush to make that video, which is something, by the way, that the YouTubers would vehemently disagree with, because they're very big on having topical and fresh content. But you know, with these videos, I'm not interested in necessarily going viral. I'm more interested in providing thoughtful analysis that you, the viewers, have come to expect. So we'll give it some time. There's no rush, is there? I don't think so. But anyway, we're going to be talking about opportunity, an offer for Andrew Yang, and then we'll go over the question. The question will be the last thing. But before I get started, I want to take a little bit of time to thank all of you, the YouTubers and the people on Twitter, because you guys have been absolutely so fantastic. And I don't think I say this enough, but thank you so much. I think we're at, last I checked by my count, it was 223 subscribers, which is just miles ahead of where I thought we'd be, with a brand new channel doing content that I wasn't sure if anyone was going to like it. But the amount of support that I've got from you guys has just been fantastic, and that's why I keep doing it, because you guys seem to like it, and plus I have a lot of fun doing it, so that's great too. But I mean, just on Twitter, which, by the way, if you're not following me on Twitter, you're missing a good time. I'm at Ready Brian Ross, so go over there to Twitter. I try to talk about not just Andrew Yang, but a whole bunch of other stuff too. Retweet interesting stuff that hasn't gotten a lot of attention. Check it out, see if you like it. At Ready Brian Ross. But anyway, some of you on Twitter, I want to give you a special shout out, who retweeting the videos and sharing them all around, and that's, you know, just fantastic. And you know, on my analytics, I can see where all my traffic comes from. And when we first started, most of the traffic was coming from the YouTube algorithm. So it was coming from YouTube recommending the videos, and now a lot of it, more than half, is coming from people searching for the videos, or coming by either subscribers or the channel page or whatever it is. But the algorithm is doing less and less work, so it's fantastic. But I want to give a special shout out to UN on Twitter, and this was a person who I guess just made their account and they don't have their handle yet. So once they get the handle, I'll shout them out. But thank you to UN and Kiki at PingC8 for the very fantastic words and sharing the video. And I think you were the person that CC'd the campaign manager and the other person on the campaign staff, so that was pretty cool. So thank you so much. And also thanks to Yangster at ZenMindMaster for, you know, just being so supportive and supporting the content. Thank you so much. And also Real Teacher Dan at Real Teacher Dan for all the stuff that he does with helping me with the production and teaching me what it is that I should and shouldn't do, what I can do to improve, etc., etc. So anyway, you super fans out there, I don't even know if fans is the right words, but I guess until we come up with a better word. But you super people out there, thank you so much for supporting it. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get to the good stuff. But the first thing that I wanted to talk about is opportunity. And I started to talk about this last video, but I had to actually restart the entire video, because once I got started, I realized that, you know, this is actually a whole video's worth of content, and I didn't want to just rush by it. But as you can tell, or as you may know, the last video came a few weeks after the video prior to it. And the reason is because, I won't go into specifics, but the reason in a broad sense is because I found that once you've put yourself out there and once you start looking for opportunities, at a certain point, opportunities come to find you. And then it becomes less of an issue of what is it that I'm going to do today? I have nothing to do. What am I going to do? And then it becomes an issue of what am I going to do today? Because there's just so much that I have to do. And it becomes an issue of time management more than you have, nothing to do. And if I was going to say something to me a few years ago, or to someone out there watching who is in the stage where they have some talents, they have some things that they know they can do and things that they can do well, but they don't have necessarily access to the opportunities, or they don't know where to start or where to find, places to go or things to do that they're interested in, something that they can be productive, something that they can do that they can really dive into it and dedicate their time to it. What I found is the best way to start finding opportunities is to first start doing literally anything that you're interested in, pretty much anything, and then dive deep into it. And what you're kind of wanting to do is, once you get to a certain point, you're having so much fun, trying to find other like-minded people and putting yourself out there and engaging in different communities. Once you start, and you're not going to probably get in the right community the first time, and in real life this works, but you can do it online too. But once you find the community that you feel comfortable in with other like-minded individuals, because you've started and you've put yourself out there, what you find is you get to a point where these people, if they enjoy working with you, and that's kind of the key part, because people have to like working with you, but if you're someone who people like to work with, opportunities will start to come and find you. So once you put yourself out there and you start looking for opportunities, if you seek it, you will find it. And then they all start coming to you. And it can be a frustrating process in the beginning, because you'll try a bunch of things and you'll probably fail at most of those things. And that's completely okay. Failure is actually a good thing if you're learning from it. If you fail and then you don't learn, well, then it's a wash. It's no good. But if you fail and then you learn from it, then you're gaining another piece of knowledge that you can use in the next field that you go into. And you'll have this unique background. You'll start building this unique background, this unique skill set that you can take your knowledge and apply it to different fields, because learning is really just pattern recognition. If you want to go into a brand new field, the quickest way to learn something isn't starting from zero, and you won't start from zero. Instead, you'll be relating the new concepts and the new things that you are learning, you'll be relating them to things that you already know. And so learning is really recognizing different patterns in things. And once you get into these new fields and you can start relating different patterns, then you start thinking in a much more open-minded, broad, creatively minded way, to the point where it's something that people talk about. You hear the word genius and you wonder what that word means. What is genius? And I'm not sure if this is the technical answer or the answer that most people use, but for me, how I've always viewed genius is being able to relate previously unrelated concepts. So what is the genius for E equals mc squared, right? Einstein's equation, E equals mc squared. That means energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. And the thing that's always been so fascinating to me about that is we're taking three concepts which don't on the surface have anything to do with each other. We're taking energy, right, this idea of energy, and the amount of energy that you get is going to be equal to mass times the speed of light, and then you got to square it. Square the speed of light times mass. I mean, these are unrelated concepts that seemingly don't have anything to do with each other, but they relate in such a unique way that allows us to do really interesting things, like theory of relativity. It's an interesting thing, and it's had some big implications, and we all know about E equals mc squared, but it's this idea of being able to relate previously unrelated concepts that I think really lends itself to genius. And the best way that you can relate previously unrelated concepts is if you have a broad base of knowledge, something that you can only get by trying and failing at a bunch of different things. And each thing that you fail at and then you learn from, you're one step closer to finding new connections. And once you find these new connections, I mean, then you're off and running. Then your problem isn't what am I going to do with my time? It's how can I best utilize my time? It's an issue of time management. So that's something I've been learning recently, is time management. So to answer your questions if there were any, about why there wasn't a video the past few weeks. It's because the opportunities have started to come and find me, and it's really been an exciting time. But don't worry, I'm not going to forget about you guys. We'll be making a bunch of cool videos, of course. But anyway, so I wanted to talk a little bit about opportunity, and I also wanted to talk about my offer for Andrew Yang. So some of the commenters and people in the YouTubes and the Twitter, you know, every video I get a comment that is similar to something like, you should work on Yang's campaign, or, you know, Yang should pay you money and then you should advise him, or something along those lines. Give your advice to Andrew, something like that. And that's fantastic. And so I'll give my offer. My offer to Andrew Yang is I will work on the campaign and we will win the Democratic nomination, guaranteed, for $1 million. I will accept $1 million and then you will win the Democratic nomination. Now, I know what you're thinking. What are you talking about, $1 million? Well, for one, in comparison, $1 million is pretty cheap for a Democratic primary nomination. And when you think about the amount of money that you're going to lose with bad messaging strategies, or the missed opportunities, and all of the negative things that can come from not having a good persuasion game, $1 million seems pretty cheap. But I'm going to predict that Andrew Yang will not accept me on my offer. He's not going to pay me $1 million. And the reason is because I offer my advice for free on my show. So everything that I would tell him, I'm telling you guys. And so there's really no reason for him to pay me, or for me to work on his campaign, or for anything like that, because I'm giving my advice away for free. But, you know, the offer is still up there. $1 million. That's my opening offer. $1 million. And so a quick note on that. Why did I pick $1 million? So whenever you're negotiating, or someone's telling you about negotiating, or you're learning about negotiating, there's this proverb or adage, or I don't know, heuristic, paradigm, whatever word you want to use. There's this idea that whenever you're negotiating something, excuse me, whenever you're negotiating something, you don't want to make the first offer. Whatever you do, don't make the opening offer. And that can, I mean, that can be true in some circumstances. It's best to not make an opening offer, for instance, when you don't know the value of what it is that you're doing, or, you know, you're entering into a new field. You know, if someone's going to pay me to be a public speaker, for instance, or they want to pay me for a speech, that would be something where I don't make the opening offer, because I don't even know what you pay for a speech. I have no idea. So I don't know what sounds good to you. I know you want to be fair, and I know that we're going to have a great event, but what is it that's in your budget? What is it that you can do? And then if they're experienced, they'd be like, oh, well, you know, what is it that you would do it for? You know, we want to be fair. We can help. You know, what is it? So we'd play this game of back and forth, and then, you know, because I don't know what it would go for, eventually he would have to make the opening offer, because I wouldn't come up with a number. And we could either play the game until we both hang up, or we would play the game until he makes an opening offer. So in that case, it makes sense. You don't want to make the opening offer when you don't know the value of what it is that you're doing. But in other circumstances, it can actually be good to make the opening offer. And the reason is because it allows an opportunity for the principle called anchoring. And anchoring is talked about by Robert Cialdini in his book Persuasion. And anchoring is when you get a number, or a concept, or an idea, but in this case a number in someone's head that is directionally the place that you want to go. So, and the interesting thing about anchoring is that it doesn't even have to relate to the conversation itself, but we won't get into that. So for something like this, I'll come up with $1 million, and that will be my opening offer, knowing full well that I'm not going to get $1 million. But the number that they would offer, whether it would be, you know, $10,000, if that's the number they were going to come up with, once the idea of $1 million gets in their mind, well, their offer necessarily gets a lot bigger, because we're getting closer to that anchor. And it's something that just sort of works, I don't know if subconsciously is the word, but it works on a psychological level, where if you can anchor someone in a negotiation, you have a much better chance of getting the price that you want to pay, or the price that you want them to pay, or the price that works for you, or the number that works for you. And just real quickly, with anchoring, you don't even need that number to be related to the negotiation at all. So you could actually walk in and have the first thing you say be, if you want to get a really high number, you could say, boy, oh boy, is it hot out there. It must be 1,000,000 degrees out there. How you doing? And then you shake their hand. And so that would also work. You would get that number, that idea of this big number in their head, and that would anchor them to this specific number. It would cause all numbers to be related to that number. It's interesting and fascinating. If you want to read more about it, it's in Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. Fantastic book. But I had a question for you, the YouTubers and the Twitter people, but I'm trying to come up with a list of what industries do you think, what industries and areas of the economy are relatively immune to artificial intelligence, automation, and robots? What are the industries that are going to get through the, let's call it the next industrial revolution? What industries are going to survive through that? And of course, AI and automation robots, they're going to impact literally every single industry in some way, either directly or indirectly. But I was trying to think about what fields can you do right now that your skills are going to be transferable into the next decade or so, because I've been thinking a lot about what the economy is going to look like in the medium term, so 10 to 50 years. And I've come up with 3, and I don't know if there's any more. I'm sure there must be, but jobs that what it looks like now probably going to be what it looks like in the future in some way, shape, or form. Robots can't really do these jobs too easily. AI can't take over everything. Things that need human involvement, things that need humans in order to exist and function. So the one that I came up with is entertainment, because when you go to a show, and I have a background in music, I was in a band for about 5 years. I managed bands for 3 of those years, and ever since I was 13, 14, I was working at a radio station, so I got to see the business side and the behind-the-scenes aspects of the music industry. Long story, we won't get into it. But entertainment is one of those things that you kind of need a human to entertain. You know, if you go to a show, you're not going to listen to the music, because if you were going to listen to the music, you would just stay home. You're going to a show or a concert or, say, a stand-up comedian, whatever it is. You're going to an entertainment event for the experience. And to be live in a building experiencing the same thing with a whole bunch of other people is a totally different thing entirely than, say, if a robot was doing it, though I'm sure that will be a thing. But it's different to see an actual live human performance, and that's something that you need a human to do. If a robot did it, it would be cool, but it would be more like, I don't want to say gimmick, but it wouldn't be the mainstay of entertainment. So entertainment is one of these industries that seem to be relatively AI-proof, automation-proof, and of course we know AI can make music, but I'm skeptical as to an AI's ability to create new art. I'm not sure. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. But anyway, so we have entertainment, we have trades, various trades, so, you know, HVAC, anything where you have to go into someone's house and then repair something, because that involves a lot of variables, and you can't have a robot an AI that so easily can identify and diagnose problems in a multivariable open system. So it's tough for a robot to go into a house and then diagnose what the problem is, because every house is going to be different, and there might be different challenges that a human can do pretty easily, but for a robot you would have to program all this new information, you have to program all these different variables, and it just seems like it's not so clear and it's not so easy that robots will be able to take over the installation of things like heating and air conditioning and going in and diagnosing problems. It seems like something that humans are just uniquely able to do at this point. Again, I could be wrong. And the other one is politics. So as much as we love the ability for machines to think, if that's what you want to call it, and machines to reason and machines to solve problems, they're not going to be our politicians, because politicians by necessity need to be of the people that they're representing. So in order to have our representatives, people representing humans, you need humans to represent humans because we're electing other humans, and you need politicians to be humans. You can't have an AI politician, you can't have a robot politician, and you can't automate away the political process. It's a whole different thing entirely. And I don't know, maybe in some, I don't want to say dystopian, but maybe in some future there might be some sort of artificial intelligence that people elect to be a representative. I don't know. I don't know, but that's not happening in the medium to long term. So we'll have the political industry. So we have entertainment, different trades, and politics. So I have those three. I don't know if there's any more. I'm interested to hear if you guys can think of any more. Someone had mentioned on Twitter therapist, and in some sense, I've seen some different AI projects having to do with diagnosing and a lot of work with chatbots and understanding words and human communication. And I don't know if we're at the point where AI could effectively be a therapist, or if the robots would be lifelike enough to provide the same level of connection and contact that a real in-person therapist would have. I'm not sure, but maybe it's an idea. I'm not entirely sure. So anyway, I wanted to ask you guys that question, see what you guys thought, and I'm interested to hear what you come up with. And I think that's all we had for today. A nice little in-between episode before Ben Shapiro. Is there anything else? Yeah, there's other stuff, but I think we'll save it for another episode. One last thing. We'll do one more thing. One last thing. I saw, if you watch my space economy video, I saw that I believe it's Singapore or Indonesia, one of the Southeast Asian countries, have started using satellites for toll collection. I thought that was pretty interesting because it seems sort of like taking a fire hose to grab a sip of water. It's a very high-powered tool to do something that is, at least in America, it seems as if it's a problem that's already been solved. And I'm not sure how they use satellites to collect tolls, but it's interesting. And what's interesting to me is that we'll start to see more and more of this type of phenomenon, where satellites and other space activities are going to be used for routine and mundane things, because the ease of getting a satellite into space and the economic incentives are going to make it such that the added efficiencies and the added benefits that you get from using satellites as opposed to Earth-based systems are going to, you're going to come out better, you're going to come out ahead. But it also does, as a negative, it also does make it a less robust system. Because if there's ever a situation where you, for whatever reason, can't send satellites into space, you can't get any communication, or something calamitous happens and we lose connection with the satellites, you would like for that not to lead to an apocalyptic event. And the more that you have in space, the more of a risk that there is of that happening. Whereas a toll booth is a rather robust system. Like, if all electricity goes out and people are going back to horses and carriages, you can still have the same toll booths there. You can still have people sitting in the booth collecting money. So, I mean, it's not really too reliant on electricity, and they're electrically fail-safe in that if electricity, for whatever, say an EMP goes off or a solar flare happens, if there's all of a sudden no more use of electrical devices, you can still collect your tolls if you have a toll booth. Can't do it with a satellite. But anyway, just a little fun thing I wanted to throw out there. But anyway, so we will talk next time about Ben Shapiro, and there was also another interesting one with Yang with Ebro in the morning. So we'll see what that's all about too. But anyway, thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys all next time. Bye bye.